So to get into a little bit more about training itself, I'm going to talk about cycles and why having cycles or a plan might be more beneficial to you. We're going to talk about training to success as opposed to training to failure, and how building the skill is quite often going to set you up better than just kind of diving into something and trying to work out really hard. As a side note, when we just moved to Vegas a few months ago, for those who don't know me, and I didn't have any equipment with me other than my gymnast rings, which I kept in that blue bag in the back of our car. So I would get up at 6 every morning and just drive to the local park and throw them up. And I was able to basically do everything except carries, even though that's all that I had. And then I would just put them back in the back of the car until the next day. As far as carries went, I did have a weighted vest. So a couple of days a week, I would just go for a walk with my weighted vest, and that was my carry. So I still was able to do all 6 basic human movements, even though I didn't really have any facilities or equipment. So it's not so much training in a certain way. It's just kind of like learning how to train and then making the training apply to you individually, you know, who you are, where you are, and what you want. So as far as cycles go, the easiest thing for most people to do is set up a monthly training cycle. It's very easy to say, oh, it's March, and in March, I'm going to do this. And then in April, I'm going to do this. And there may be that you're going in and out of different interests. So maybe you want to train for a 5K and you and your spouse are going to go do one in 5 or 6 weeks. So this month you're getting into your running plan. Great. Do that until you've met your goal. And then maybe you're only running because you want to do that one thing. Or maybe you fall in love with running and that becomes the thing that you do. Other people love to do lots of different things. You know, someone might invite them to go to yoga and they sign up for the unlimited month plan and they're like, I'm just going to do it every single day so that I can take advantage of the plan. And then they just kind of like, okay, I'm over that. And they're going to go to the next thing. But if you're just kind of a traditional, I'm going to go to the gym type of person who, you know, wants to pursue that kind of fitness, going in with some kind of plan will probably serve you better than just showing up and doing whatever pops in your head at the day. And the reason for that is, especially if you're doing new things, like if you're going to the yoga studio, you probably don't know any of the moves. You don't know the sequence. You're going to be asking questions. You're going to be asking for help. Just like if you go to a new gym, there might be a lot of equipment there that you don't know how to use. Whether it's complicated or not, you might need someone to show you what to do. So kind of onboarding those skills is going to take you a few weeks. And then you're going to get into your groove. You're going to know what you're doing. Your plan is going to be kind of normal for you. That's when you're going to start making your progress and you're going to start to move forward. But then you're going to start to plateau. So those last couple of weeks, your kind of body and mind are both going to be like, okay, I've been doing this for a while. This is normal. And then you switch into your next month's plan, and that's when it all becomes new. Even if you're still going to the gym, even if you're still going to the yoga studio, you might have a different intention. You might have a different program, but having some kind of program, again, it's going to enable you to look back and say, based on where I was last month, am I fitter now? Or how has my fitness changed? And I know it's changed because I have a plan and I can chart my progress. Whereas if you don't have any cycles or programs, you may not have any way to kind of, you know, look back and see where you are and what progress you've made. So train to success. So this is another big difference between the kind of like StrongFirst philosophy and something a little more like CrossFit. And I'm not picking on CrossFit, as my brother and I like to say, you know, my karate appreciates your Taekwondo. I just don't study Taekwondo. So I think you know, everything is valuable. It doesn't matter if you like to run and do cardio or you lift weights and you don't do any cardio, rather than kind of have this confrontational view of the opposition. You know, I prefer to say, well, what can I learn from them that may benefit me regardless of whether I want to do that or not? And so StrongFirst has a thing they call luxurious rest. What do you call it? It doesn't matter what the last word is, sequences or what have you, periods, luxurious rest periods. Whereas CrossFit, they tend to time everything. And because CrossFit's goal is to have people do the most work. And the easiest way to measure that is in time. So it's, did you do it faster? Were you able to do more work with less rest? Or were you able to do more reps in the same amount of session, or more sets in the same amount of time? Whereas StrongFirst kind of looks at it and they say, we want you to recover completely, because StrongFirst is about being strong first. So if you're trying to do conditioning, you're doing conditioning. If you're doing strength work, then it's 3 to 5 minutes of rest in between each set. And when you first get into that, that sounds outrageous. You're like, I'm going to train for 30 seconds and then rest for 3 to 5 minutes. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But StrongFirst's philosophy is, we want you to perform reps well, we want you to build the skill, and we want you to walk out feeling like you trained, but you feel great, as opposed to crawling out because you're exhausted and you're in a puddle on the floor because you're bathing in lactic acid because you literally worked out. And that's another thing I would challenge people to try is, StrongFirst taught me that we are training, we're learning, we're building a skill set so that we can know more, not only in the physical application of what we're doing, but in the skill set that we're learning. So it's kind of like being in class, as opposed to working yourself out. You know, I worked out of fitness, I worked out of feeling comfortable, I worked out of looking recovered. If you're stumbling out of the gym and you feel sick and you need 2 days to recover, you probably worked out way too hard. If you're bouncing out of the gym feeling awesome and you can't wait to go back again, maybe you need to progress and train a little harder, or maybe you're putting in enough recovery and you're training at your level so that you're successfully increasing your fitness on a daily basis. And I'm happy to talk more about those kind of philosophies if anyone is interested. Closely related to that is building the skill. So last year I realized that I really wanted to do a handstand. I want to do a freestanding handstand, so I'm not leaning on anything. I've always wanted to do that. And I decided I was just going to commit to doing it. And so I kicked up against a wall and I tried to hold it for a minute. And once I got so I could do that, I said, I'm going to do that every day for a month. And it was a great challenge. But now that I'm going to a circus center and my instructor is in Cirque du Soleil, I realized I would have been much better served if I had just found someone to teach me how to do it properly. She literally said, did you teach yourself how to do this? And I said, yes. And she said, did you learn it off of YouTube? And I said, yes. And she said, don't do that. Because she had to unteach me what I spent 3 or 4 months learning to do. So now my defaults are all the things that she says the opposite of. So in this picture, for instance, if you look, you can see my hands are not in line and they're also very wide. So learning how to put my hands in line, learning how to stack them under my shoulders, it took me a while because I defaulted to what I had spent many, many months, 1 minute every single day, learning how to do. So I had to break those habits. I had to learn how to not do the thing that I had taught myself to do. I also, I don't know if you can tell, but my back is really arched. And instead I had to learn how to not arch, but engage my core and put everything in line, as well as look at the ground, not look straight out. And partly this is a picture, so I was looking to make sure I was going to get the picture right. But all of those things could have been alleviated if I had just taken a class or hired someone that knew what they were doing. And they could teach me the skill first. And then I could put all the reps in. I could put all the training in afterwards. So I'd really encourage you, again, whether it's yoga, weightlifting, CrossFit, whatever it might be, find a coach, find someone to teach you the skill, and then practice the skill. It's kind of like a house. You really want a good foundation. And then when you put a house on it, you're not going to have any problems. Well, as a homeowner, I can say you'll have lots of problems. But if you have a house on a bad foundation, you're going to keep fixing the house over and over and over. But it's not really the house. It's the fact that the foundation isn't good. So unless you address that foundation, you're going to continue to have problems with the house.